All right, gentlemen, I am back with another video. I want to cover one of the other really basic tenets that I put in my book because I want you to get to know this. I want you to get to be able to use this, and I want you to get to be able to explain this to others so that we can tell people the whole story behind the red pill. Okay? So that's why I called my book The Rest of the Red Pill. The kind of stuff we let slip through the cracks. Okay? And today I want to talk about Beauty and the Beast, the story. Now, I know it doesn't sound very important. You're probably thinking of the cartoon movie done by Disney back in the 60s, right? With the talking tea kettles and all that. That's not what I'm talking about. The original story goes back thousands of years, even though it was only written down fully into like the 1700s, I believe. But the story itself tells us something really important about the basics of human nature and of feminism in particular. And I want to cover for you exactly why. So, to begin with, you have to understand the genesis of the story. The story actually begins with a woman. This young man, his father dies, leaves him his estate, and then this woman comes along. This bad woman from the lower culture, from the bad area comes along, and she wants him. She wants him for her lusts. She wants him for his financial gain. She wants him for his social status. But she wants him to gain from. She only wants him to get something out of. And you see this everywhere right now, right? There are plenty of videos about women's totally unrealistic expectations when it comes to finances. In fact, I am going to do a totally separate video on this subject, so I'm not going to really cover it right now. But we see these unrealistic expectations everywhere. You got to be 6 foot tall. You got to have 6-pack abs. 6-inch thing, 6-figure income, right? We see these unrealistic expectations everywhere, and the financial ones are the most unrealistic of all. Women are nuts when they think about money. And then, of course, they don't handle it right. But that's kind of getting off on a side issue. But she wanted him, okay? And much like modern feminism, she didn't want just to have him like as a boyfriend, as a man. What they really want underneath it all is to be like a man, right? I mean, that's what feminists tell you. They can do everything a man can do. They're strong and independent. I'll tell you a great secret, gentlemen. Women, they don't like being women. They don't like being smaller. They don't like being weaker. They don't like being slower. They don't like that little gap at the top of the intelligence scale where there's never been a female grandmaster in men's chess. They don't like this. They don't like it. Well, I mean, would you kind of? But it all comes back to culture. It all comes back to, okay, here you are. No one can do anything about it. We didn't decide to make you female. This is on God. So what can you do? Do you have any advantages and things that you can use to your benefit to help make your life better and to make it more enjoyable and to give it meaning and give it as much purpose as every man? And that's the first thing that feminism gets wrong, is that you have to be like a man for your life to mean anything. Of course it doesn't. So that's part one. Part two is the spell. So what this lady does when she can't have him is she casts a spell on him. And I know you're thinking of about, like I said, witches around a pot, sprinkling herbs and muttering weird words, and poof, right? And then the spell goes out of the pot to wherever it goes. That's not what a spell is. Spells are real. But a spell is nothing more than a repeated prejudice. A spell is nothing more than a repeated prejudice. So, do you remember this lady right here from a couple of videos of mine ago? Let's take a look real quick. I want to remind you.
Did this man just admit that he went to a foreign country to find himself a wife because he wants somebody with traditional values, which means that he wants a slave?
All right, gentlemen, that's the spell. Men are evil. Men are bad. Men are abusers. Men are something you have to protect yourself from. Men are something you can't trust. That's the spell. That's actually the spell. And when men do our part of it and go, but we love women that are strong and independent, blah, blah, blah. All they're doing is repeating the other half of the spell. Yeah, I am bad. Yeah, I am evil. Yeah, I am untrustworthy. That's all they're doing. But that's the spell. And it's real. Because what spells do is they change your heart. The beast was never a beast. It's not possible for the everyday man to turn into a monster in a castle somewhere. It's not realistic at all. He was just a man. He was just a young man, just like he'd been before the spell was ever cast. The spell didn't change him. It changed her. The spell did not change him. The spell changed her. It got down into her heart. Because the really important part of what you see in life is not what you see with your eyes. The really important things that motivate you and push you in certain directions in life are based on what you see in your heart. So, let's talk about this in Bible terms. So, Abraham spends years and years. He goes to Egypt. He goes all through the promised land. He lives with Lot next to Sodom and Gomorrah. He travels the whole area. And at the end of it, God takes him up on a mountain and says, all this land you can see, it's yours and your children's forever. Well, I've been up on mountains here in Arizona a lot. You can see, 20, 30 miles in each direction maybe? God wasn't talking about what Abraham could see with his eyes. He was talking about all those places he had been and he could remember and pull up in his heart. And it's the same for everybody else. It's not what you see with your eyes. It's what you see with your heart. And that's how the spell works, gentlemen. It's about what you see with your heart. So what's the third part? The third part is beauty. Because beauty fell under the spell. Just like practically every woman does today in the West. And many other women that aren't even in the West. And only one thing can break the spell. Only one thing. You have to learn to love someone more than you love your own impulses. As I put it in my book, since she retreated to her father's house to hide out again like she'd been doing in all those years before Beast came along, You have to learn to love someone more than you love your own comfort. You see, Beauty, when she thought he was dying, ran back to Beast. And when she did, she proved how much she cared about him. And that changed what she saw in her heart. And then she could see with her eyes what had always been there. So I want you to think and watch people as they talk. Ladies and gentlemen, let me give you an exercise. If you're ever going to break free from the spell, you have to do the following. Every time you hear the spell, and pay attention about hearing the spell, every time you hear it, you must speak against it. You must say out loud, or if you can't say out loud, at least say to yourself loudly in your own mind, "This is the spell. It is not true. This is the spell. It is not true. This is just the spell. It's not true." Until you get that so far deep down into your heart that you start to believe it. And then, and only then, can you break the spell of our age. All right, so I'm going to leave that there. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. I'll be back again. I've had this week off, so I've been able to do a lot of videos. I'll be able to do another one tomorrow. After that, it's going to become, I'm hoping, twice a week. But I'm hoping to continue this. I hope you get something out of it, and you have a great new year. Thank you.